The Crown Tundra DLC comes out in like a day or two, so let's dedicate a video to predicting some Origin stuff before we have all the information, just to see how right or wrong I can be. This video is all about Galarian Slowking and its stupid face! And hey, quick announcement, the day after the DLC comes out, so this Friday, we're going to stream all of it. Just boom, all in one go. That'll be right here. Hope to see you there. So, Galarian Slowpoke and Bro were actually somewhat important in the Isle of Armor, and their origins were surprisingly deep. And in the video where we talked about them, we also predicted what could Slowking kind of be based on. Because remember, it was partially revealed, but not entirely at that time. And a decent amount of that prediction was actually somewhat accurate, which makes me smile. But, one thing we couldn't possibly have predicted is how it looks.
Slowbro, I'm stuck in the shelter! Oh no! Oh, help me out, Slowbro!
Well, this is it. This version gained some confidence and now wears a dark, stylish cape in public. And let me just say, not just anyone can go around doing that. Now usually, when a Shellder bites down on a Slowpoke's head, it makes it a Slowking. The Shellder's venom reaches Slowking's brain, which activates its mental almonds and makes it incredibly smart. I've talked about this extensively here, but in Galar, this Shellder latched down significantly further on the poor Pokemon's skull, covering its eyes and replacing them with its own Shellder eyes. I have special eyes. And by the way, it's brought up all the time. How is this a Shellder? Well, the short answer is it's not. It's a Pokemon that wound up being cut from the game before release. It was named Tarbon in the beta code, named after a turban, or more specifically the turban snail, but ultimately it didn't make the cut. So for the Slows, they settled with calling it a Shellder. Which led us to this beautiful scene.
Slowpoke. Oh, Slowpoke is beginning to evolve! Ah.
I guess. Its horns also leak this green goop that I'm assuming is poison, or a sort of mix of spices and poison. As a refresher, the reason Shellder don't bite down onto Slowpoke tails in the Galar region is because Slowpokes here have a unique diet of spicy plants, which makes their tails spicy, thus undesirable to the Shellder. But in the case of Slowking, it's mentioned on the official Pokemon website that a Shellder bite set off a reaction between the chemicals secreted by Galarian Slowpoke's brain and the spices inside its body, causing Slowpoke to gain the poison type as it evolved into Galarian Slowking. The Shellder's intelligence also skyrocketed, giving the Shellder psychic powers that put other psychic-type Pokemon to shame. Wow. Metagross is 4 supercomputers fused into one. Xatu could just see into the future forever, and Alakazam is Alakazam. So, putting them to shame is impressive. Slowking was already among the smartest of all Pokemon, and with the spices now playing a part in its body chemistry, it's only smarter. And funnily enough, this is actually the opposite of reality. A few big studies have found a potential link between eating a lot of spicy food and cognitive decline, especially dementia. However, on the flip side, eating a lot of spicy food may also increase how long you live. More studies need to be done, though, to further confirm these findings. But anyway, Galarian Slowking gains a new affinity for magic, and during battles, these guys utter odd hexes. And we can see this with its new signature move, Eerie Spell. Spooky! On top of dealing damage, it reduces the victim's last move PP by 3 stages. Is that good? I don't know. Give it time. But in a double battle, if you pair this with a Pokemon that has the ability Pressure, you can make a Pokemon burn 5 PP per turn. Have fun fighting against that combo. Galarian Slowking also has a new ability called Curious Medicine. When it enters the battlefield, it resets all stat changes of your allied Pokemon. You hear that, Landorus? Try ruining my game with Intimidation now! I have an Ice Beam and this Mon! You don't scare me anymore, you bugbear! So, inspirationally now, what does the Poison type on top of a sort of warlock, spooky, hexing king of sorts come from? Well, Kings and monarchs are already quite British, you know? Which is of course a requirement because every Gen 8 Pokemon is at least a little British. But being as important as they were constantly at risk of assassination, to the point where they have multiple people on hand to prevent this, and of course, more than simply guards. Famously, many kings had royal food tasters who would eat any food served to the king before the king, and if they died, they would know the food or drink was poisoned before the king gets poisoned. And even having a person stand in for royalty like this is still a practice today. Modern day royalty in places like the Middle East have body doubles that look almost exactly like the person, either through natural means or plastic surgery. They show up at big events first, so that if someone tries to kill them, they just kill the poor soul that happens to look like them instead. Their nicknames are bullet catchers. These constant attempts on their lives often make kings extremely paranoid. Well, that and the royal inbreeding doesn't help much either. But one famous example that could be an inspiration for Slowking a bit is King Mithridates. Mithridates, the sixth specifically. You see, after his father was assassinated, he became so scared of being killed that he took sublethal doses of poison every day until he gained immunity to them. And the ironic thing is, eventually he had local nobles rebel against him, and rather than suffer through whatever torture they would have given him, he attempted to kill himself with poison, but failed. Because he was immune to it. Nemesis, you cruel but creative goddess! Ultimately, he died by a lot of stabbing. Now, other inspiration for Galarian Slowking could be vampires. Vampires, as we know them today, is very much thanks to the British Empire. The two main inspirations for modern vampires come from two Irish books. The first being Carmilla, a story about a lesbian vampire that came out a couple of years before Dracula, which then Dracula is the main inspiration for most popular depictions of vampires these days. Many cultures already had things like vampires in them, but these two books specified their powers and abilities and turned them into beings that are feared and or loved worldwide today because they're so dang sparkly. The cape-wearing, life-sucking, evil peeps with big castles and teeth that stick out. And who else has castles? Kings. And this shelter on Slowking's head, or really all of the Slowdude forms, is acting as a leech, surviving by sucking the life out of the slow guy. They are quite literally vampiric in nature, like leeches. And this one on Galarian Slowking has seemingly taken it over completely. It's like a little child-friendly head crab. Plus the particular one on Galarian Slowking, that has a lot more teeth sticking out of it. But side note, just like head crabs, which do this and take over the brains of their victims just like this shelter, puppet kings are a thing. Kings who are, for all intensive purposes, are kings, but they are all beholden to what a more powerful king, possibly one that put them there, tells them to do. They are kings that are completely under puppety control. Slowking could then be a reference to Modred. There are quite a few references to Arthurian legend in Galar already, and in that legend, Mordred is depicted as Morgan Le Fay's pawn, and a user of magic as well. All well-fitting of Galarian Slowking. But back to the vampires! Why do these stories come from Ireland? Well, that could be because of another inspiration for our gothic King Hippo guy. Here is Avartach. The Abartak. The Abartak. The Abartach. The Abartach. Google has no idea how to say it because it's just that creepy. An ancient undead king that drank the blood of his peasants to gain magic and supernatural abilities. He also was short. Potentially. There's arguments about that. His name is also the Irish word for dwarf, you see. Avartach was an ancient Irish king that was, to put lightly, a terrible, terribly awful guy. And he was also very jealous and believed his wife to be cheating on him, possibly because of how short he was. One night he crawled out of his window to catch his wife in the act, but he fell to his death instead. They found him the next morning, thanked God he was finally dead, and put him in the ground as quickly as they could, and all moved on with their lives. But then, the next day, Avartok was alive and well, and walked to all of his citizens' doors with a wooden bowl, collecting blood from them, and he drinks it right in front of their faces. The people, now not willing to put up with him again, especially with his new drinking problem, asked another king to deal with him. And he did. People came and axed Avartok, and buried him again. Then the next day, our dwarf wizard came back again with his wooden bowl, demanding blood still. They killed him again, and he came back again the next day. They went to a local saint, because those are common enough in Ireland. He told them how to kill the living dead. You must use a wooden sword made out of a yew tree, which is poisonous, by the way, to stab him directly in the heart. And, by the way, this is possibly the inspiration for the whole stake through the heart thing with modern vampires. And then, after he's dead, to put him in the ground, head down, cover him with ashwood branches and thorns, and then put a large stone over the grave, and he shall then rise no more. Bleh! Ghost stories. But legend has it, this place that he was buried is real, and it's right here. It's this. And to this day, locals are rumored to have bad experiences involving this place. Supposedly, people have tried to cut this tree down. It grew from the thorns that they scattered about the grave. But they tried cutting it down with a brand new chainsaw. And not too deep into the tree, the chainsaw broke and slapped the operator's hand, spilling blood all over the stone, and the stone absorbed it. Spooky! But before we talk about trees and their importance in the mythology of Ireland and Scotland, and possibly even this new DLC, let's focus a bit more on Golarion Slowking and its connection to this Avartok. I mentioned his name means dwarf in Irish, and conveniently all of the slows are based on pygmy hippos, a smaller breed of hippo, and also his name alludes to him being a user of magic. Perfect for Slowking, since he uses magic now. And also, Slowking's ability can be another cool reference if you, like, stretch a veil of over your vision. When Slowking enters the battlefield, it resets all stat changes of an ally. And looky, every time people thought Avartok was dead, they moved on with their lives, but then everything goes right back to normal when he wakes up, as if he never really died in the first place. So in Pokemon, it's like you never really lowered their stats in the first place. And all of this may also be a reason why Golarion Slowking's Shelder is purple and a lot pointier now. Purple is the color of mysticism and magic, and hey, iconic pointy wizard's hats? Boom. Also purple's the color of royalty. Full circle. Now, there's all sorts of things the tree in the Crown Tundra DLC could be pulling inspiration from, but maybe one of them is tied to Slowking's inspiration because of the tree over the dwarf wizard's grave. But also there's something called fairy trees. These fairy trees are usually hawthorn or ash trees, and they usually are found out by themselves, like in fields, and often have stone circles around them. They were made by wee folk, or fairies. Look, another reference to short people. But these trees were also seen as portals to the other world. The world of the Fae and other things. These worlds were often depicted as underground, which is why it gets the name Underland or Underworld, which later inspired Undertale and Wonderland's actual name in the novels. So this tree in the DLC may hold the key to something interesting. I'm assuming it's how you get to the more extreme raid dens and tunnels that are all connected to this tree. It would sort of explain why all of these dang legendaries are just here. They aren't really. Here is a magical plane of existence. Maybe these underground tunnels are rapidly transporting you to other parts of the world, underground of other regions where these legendaries reside. Functionally, it'd be sort of similar to the Ultra Wormholes, but magically inspired instead of sci-fi inspired. So what if the Golarion legendary birds aren't really variants of sorts, but are Ultra Beasts of sorts? They crawled through the tunnels and into this world from some parallel multiverse where they are the legendary birds rather than the ones we're aware of already. Maybe this is just how they look like in this parallel world. That would explain why there are suddenly multiples of the legendary birds. That is, if you subscribe to that belief. Personally, I think there are quite a few of most legendaries, but that's this video up here, not the current one. Though I guess the current one is over now. I think I've said everything. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was everything I had to say about Galarian Slowking. So you let me know if I missed anything down below. There's bound to be more possible evidence involving warlocks and hexes, but you can let me know about that down in the comments. And until next time, you never stop using your noggin.